Okay, I'd like to quickly just go through and explain what a bridging loan calculator looks like. So this is a calculator which comes from St. George Bank, and St. George Bank is generally seen as one of the best, if not the very best, for bridging loans. And yeah, they have very good policies in this way. They allow some of the ways in which they allow you to borrow more or with less interest chargeable and with more favourable terms. They're really, really good. So it's just something that most brokers use right now, and it would be something where I think they're just outstanding. So, in among other things, is the bridging loan calculator, and this is what it looks like. So it's nothing to be scared of. So ultimately, what we had in this instance is we had a property that was being sold here in Sydney. Okay, so this is the original property, which was actually listed, and they had an agreement for that to be sold. So that was 3.8, as you can see there. There's actually no debt on it as well, so it was actually fully unencumbered. So that's what that is, and we had that contract in place. What we did have though is we were wanting to buy a property for 3.865, and that was here on the Northern Beaches. And there was a difference in between these settlement days of 3 weeks, and we needed to have a bridging loan to span that time. Okay, so that's why the intent of the bridging loan and what it was for. So with the 3.865, the costs involved from stamp duties, etc., were 205. And then there was also we did a little tiny bit of debt consolidation as well, just to tidy up a few other things. So that's what that was. The deposit that was paid on the property for 3865 was 194. So that meant, and that actually came out of personal funds, that the required funds that were needed were 3.946. Okay. From here, the ratio which a bank will use, and this is why St. George is one of the best, is a proportion of what the purchase price is. In this instance, it was 3.230. Okay, so there are some figures that need to be, calculations that need to be crunched, and work with an excellent broker, and they'll be able to help you on this and look at the feasibility. Okay, so that's ultimately the bridging loan. Okay, so there's two different loans. So that's the first one, and then you have an existing debt. Okay, so the existing debt plus the bridging loan comes up to the full total amount required. This bridging loan lasts for 3 weeks. Okay, so that's how long we needed it to span the two settlements. The interest rate which you get paid, that you get charged is 9.05. So it's a little bit higher, but again, it's a means to an end. And then that's what that looks like. The ICAP interest was just figuring out what would be the maximum interest available or chargeable within that time period, but it's actually all okay because we only had it for 3 weeks. So this is for a full year as opposed to 3 weeks. So the interest charged was about, from memory, I think it was about 20 to 30 grand. But yeah, this is what it looks like when you're starting to build it out into 12 months. Again, they're looking at applying some of their rates in here on that figure. So just making sure that you know what these are as you go through and do that. Peak debt, so that is how much, at the biggest amount of time of how much debt would be in here, which would be all of this here plus a bit of interest, which is calculated, however, it wasn't completely used. And then the peak security is combining this one, the property in Sydney, with the new property that was purchased as well. And then LVR, so loan to value ratio. So they're wanting to see some nice, good numbers in here. So yeah, it's part of the equation and the matrix for the bank to approve you. And then after the bridging loan and we've settled on both properties, the remaining debt is here. So that's actually what the final loan amount was, and that's what you actually have as a standalone product at the end of the bridging loan. Okay, so it was 716, and then that was just a normal rate or loan that had 5.89% was the final number, and this is in April of this year, so last month. So at that time, interest rates are going down, but that's just highlighting the process. What we sold, what we were buying, purchase costs, added on extra debt that came in here, cash contribution, total funds required, bridging loan was 3.2, and then final loan was 716. So that's how that worked, and we had to run servicing on all of this and make sure it all worked. But ultimately, it was an excellent experience, and this hopefully just demythifies the scenario, because a lot of people see bridging loans, get a little bit scared, but actually they're quite good when they're used correctly, and helps to buy in a hot market and gets you where you need to go. So a really good thing to know about, and a tool that can be used. And ideally in a scenario like this, it's only for like 3 weeks. So it's just a necessary way in which we can structure debt to get you into an excellent asset or a forever family home, and get you where you need to go. So hopefully this helps. Cheers.